Bienvenidos, Fright fans. Welcome to the horror show. I'm Jaime and Fuego.
I'm Cecil Laird.
And we are back to continue our coverage of the Thing comic books that Dark Horse did in the early 90s.
Part 3, mother effers!
Bring it on. Continuing the story of, well, one character in particular.
We can spoil it, so just so you guys know.
Probably the character you would expect.
Spoiler warning. What we're about to say, we can't talk about the plot for the third series without spoiling who is actually the Thing in the first two series between McCready and Childs. Yes.
Yeah.
It was Childs, of course.
Well, he eventually became it, because remember there was all the
blood
tests.
Well, he's the one that, the blood test that made McCready look like him was because Childs tainted it.
Because he was tainting it,
he dipped his thumb in when he handed it over.
Which really makes you think, was he a puppet master orchestrator
the whole thing? Yeah, he was. Absolutely. Through the whole two. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you thought?
He was a Thing through the entire time.
I just thought maybe he got infected later.
No, he was the Thing the whole way.
Interesting.
The whole way, absolutely. He was just trying to bring more people to the party. Every time.
And he was orchestrating and mobilizing and making them act more like people and just be more...
It was Childs the whole way, bro.
Well, what we get in this is basically...
an abandonment of that storyline.
Well, no. Honestly, with that in mind, it shows more of a cognizance from this Thing in just, not trying to overstretch its boundaries, trying to, act and trying to assimilate more, trying to have more of a sentience, trying to have more of a cognizance and all this other stuff. And... It totally changes
issue by issue here.
Yeah, so the Thing from Another World, Eternal cool Vows, and it has lots of marriage quote references throughout, which is really weird.
What I liked about the artwork is it's very reminiscent of Kelly Jones. I felt like
a little bit, yeah, and it's very romantic in the storytelling at times, which is
I was not a fan of that.
I actually was. Yeah.
They tried to give this the Thing like a weird
way,
cognizance that we didn't know it had.
Well, that they never revealed before, at least, and the fact that it's not trying to infect too many people because then it would almost. Pollute the talent pool. It would have like too many others possibly going after where you would necessarily need to be able to replenish your dying cells and stuff like that. There's a lot told from a first-person internal, almost like monologue narrative of the Thing, which we've never seen before in any of the films and any of the comic books, or But long story short, y'all, it takes place in New Zealand. Yes, New Zealand. I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings. It's like Lord of the Rings.
Specifically on an island.
The Concords.
It's on an island in New Zealand.
Yes.
So it is technically a way to prevent the infection from moving on, except that we find out that the infection swims pretty goddamn well.
We do.
From the last couple of series.
Yeah, and there's an American ship, which is where the contagion, I guess, originates from. And so this guy, who was a sailor from this American ship, he goes and he gets down to bed in the very first issue.
Here's the problem. This is where we see the biggest problem for the book.
Oh, the purple tentacles?
Yeah,
you weren't a big fan of it?
The Thing itself is now depicted entirely by purple tentacles and purple. Anytime anyone is a Thing, he becomes purple. Like it's the coloring. I didn't like the coloring at all.
This donut has purple in it. Purple is a fruit, so as opposed to the pinkishness, it should have been.
The pinkishness, and well, you saw in the last one that the things it took on the color of whatever it was absorbing. So even at one point, like it had a red lobster claw, but a regular colored fleshy face, and then things like that. Like it maintained, but now everything is all purple. Yeah. And not only that, but it doesn't even seem to be assimilating. It just seems to be like feeding on them. But at least it is still an R-rated comic. It is still an R-rated comic.
Yeah, between the sex they add in this too, like and all the implied stuff. But yeah, so we don't even see our aforementioned hero until about halfway through the second issue is when we finally see McCready, and he basically shows up in New Zealand because of the fact that he somehow got wind of murders that he feel like fit the possibility of being murders by this alien.
And of course, I hated the first issue for this part alone.
Yeah,
because basically Kitty Rose just gets nailed by this female thing.
Well, it's just being turned.
She's a female thing. No, that's the thing. They talk heavily in this arc about how the Thing needs live cell tissue to feed on. to maintain itself,
but it doesn't
not to spread. Like they changed
it doesn't
the
take
lore
too much. It was a massive change of lore and
so
motivation
weird.
and all of this stuff, and
weird.
Also just the retention of cognizance and just memory of all of those that you have taken before, like
which was kind of interesting at times.
That was one of the redeeming qualities of this, is like where the sailor infects the girl, and then she is suddenly remembering all of the stuff that the sailor, before it was infected by the fish that he caught and all that other stuff. It was just, and also the fact that anytime it touches, it can reduplicate. It doesn't have to assimilate.
No, it just touches.
Yeah, it just touches it, and then it can duplicate it. So it's really, I mean, once again, a different writer, a different artist for all of this, and so it did bring some interesting concepts to the table, even if I thought the rest of the storytelling was really bland and kind of blah. McCready eventually shows up. He has a suspicion of what's going on. He teams up with the New Zealand policeman, and he almost becomes a new child as far as them teaming up and trying to solve this series of murders that they think might have some big, deeper thing going down.
And here in issue 2 is how they explain how the last series led into this. So they show the downed submarine over here on this page with the thing, and then a little fish came swimming down, and the fish got infected, and then the fish was swept up in fish nets, and then boom, the thing was transferred to the fisherman.
Yep, the guy who catches it, who proceeds to go have the affair with the girl in New Zealand, who her and him have this constant mental back and forth after he infects her,
which is really weird.
It's romantic, it's weird, it's creepy, it's strange. I don't know. It's a weird combination of all of these
No,
ideals.
it's like the Star Wars Rey and Kylo Ren connection that they have.
That's really a good way.
It really is, honestly. Like, before that movie, I wouldn't have had a thing to liken it to, but that is really kind of what it is.
But there's so many back and forth bits where she's like,
here we go, she's like, purple thing again.
Are we dying? And he's like, no, we just need to bring on more cells so that we can continue to live and so on. And
I don't know. Silly that looks, though.
It's very silly at times, but
looks like a cartoon monster.
But with more consideration, it does kind of put forth some interesting ideas about the nature of the creature and what sort of just, I don't know, what's the word? I guess just basic intelligence it might have.
Well, yeah, it does. It implies
it's the
a
only
level of intelligence. It implies
it's the
a
only
level of
redeeming
investment that the
quality
creature has that we never knew it actually had.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a weird thing to do in the third series after 2 movies, obviously one being a remake of the other.
Well, and especially with
issue number 3 cover.
Yeah, and that's where it's just turning into a firefight, and they're just trying to blaze out because it almost turns like Body Snatchers at that point, where all these people are getting infected. One person is infecting another, and they're not turning into full on just like kind of thing. They're proceeding very incognito, and it is the manifestation of that quick spread that the scientist in the original Carpenter film theorized that we actually get to, as far as the numbers go, in that Dark Horse Comics, one shot that's divided up. So yeah, there's a lot of blowtorching of people. There's lots of just brief infections of people. What is her name? I'm trying to remember. It's not really of any particular importance. She goes around infecting former lover, friend, all these different people, So
they lean on the fact, like right here, they lean on the fact that the thing has a facial memory. So when someone burns it, like kind of like in the end of T2, when the T-1000 is being dropped into the molten lava and it turns into the T-1000, not the T-800. When it's dropped into the molten lava and it turns into the faces of all the things that it's mimicked before it dies.
Everything it had like a mask as far as
it's that kind of thing. It's again, so they're pulling things from other things that have happened.
They are, and you have to remember this was like 93, 94, something like that.
That's after T2.
So just that, but it's still so fresh and ingrained in the brain and Dark Horse also owning the Terminator property too. I mean, come on, at this particular time.
And then issue 3 ends with McCready once again off on his own, watching the island sort of burn and having to figure out his situation.
And that's because we can't say what happens with the guy he teams up with.
Correct.
Yeah. And by the time we get to issue 4, like, this is where I really can't spoil stuff, but dude, the last issue, the last couple pages, they went back to that, hit you in the weird feels of sympathy for the creature. And
the issue 4 cover is pretty dope, though.
I like it too.
It looks like more like a creature that would come out of Wonderland.
Honestly, it looks,
doesn't it? Than anything else.
Do you know what it looks like? It looks like a creature to me that would have been on the cover of DC Bloodlines about the same time.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting a Jabberwocky vibe. That's why
I can get that too.
So that's why Alice in Wonderland I say. But I agree. The Bloodlines totally.
Yeah.
And this is about that time too.
Yeah, 93, 94. Yeah, it was exactly when this sort of stuff was going down.
So this last issue is just a whole nother movie where it's everyone on the last ship when the island is burning,
because he goes back onto the ship where that fish was caught. That started this new cycle. And there are some really cool pieces. There's some cool violent bits, man. So McCready basically he tracks back to the ship where the guy who goes and infects the girl, and that fish that was caught, that was from the downed submarine where that one cell went into the fish. Like, it does all connect pretty well. I have to say, it is well thought out. Even if it's not always well executed, it does all tie together.
And I would say, outside of the fact that the purple is really unintimidating, this top panel here on this page is the definition of what I would consider nightmare fuel.
Yeah, this is one of the best illustrated of the issues.
So look at, I mean, that's someone being eaten by one mouth of the thing, and then another mouth eating the leg of another person, like all at the same time. That's totally frightening to me.
You're jogging my memory to the first or the second issue, though, where the girl realizes that her cells have been infected by the guy who used to be the sailor, and he puts his hand through her chest, and he's like, almost like combining with her. He's not trying to kill her, assimilate, or whatever. He wants her to retain her own separate consciousness and weirdness.
See, it's
a strange book, man. This is very early 90s, just weird sci-fi horror. It's flawed. It's very, very flawed, but it is very worth reading too, especially if you like the.
If you want to know the continuation of the story, like that's
official.
It is. Come on. That's what gets me, man. Like it's crazy that I didn't know these existed until I wish I had checked to see what the commenter was that actually told us about it when we did the Thing commentary, because of that person I got all of these. So I actually got those first 2 series to start, and then at the end it didn't seem like it was over. And there was an advertisement for Eternal Vows. I was like, what is Eternal Vows? And I looked up and I found all the rest of the books, and I was like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna have a complete thing, which is why we're doing a complete review for you guys.
And the interesting thing about the way they portray McCready, and this is what really cracks me up, he's got the sunglasses and the mullet, because remember, he's like in a more temporal climate at this particular point, and so he's going around like early 90s action star, like to a T, dude, you know, big flamethrower, sunglasses, mullet, and he's just going to work and everything. And yeah, I mean, he would have been at home in a direct-to-video of some sort around this time, you know? So, yeah, I still found a lot of enjoyment with this.
Absolutely.
It's like a franchise, okay, check it. It's like a franchise that I loved the first 2 theatricals, and then they went VOD afterwards.
That is a very good way to put it. That is a very good way to put it. Well, no, and I would say the first 3. Because the first one was great. The movie was great.
The initial trilogy.
And then the first follow-up, the 2 issues was good, and then the second follow-up was good, Climate of Fear.
Yeah, and
but this one was the first VOD one. Yes,
very much so. With the
Eternal Vows was the first VOD version of this. Yeah, sure.
Bringing back just the one main character, totally different locale and everything.
It's an expensive VOD. But it's still a VOD.
Hey, New Zealand is not
New Zealand. All right, well, that's going to do it for part 3 of our review of the Thing from Another World comic books. If you guys are enjoying these, let us know in the comments down below. If you're excited to check them out yourselves, let us know that as well. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you like the video, click the like button and subscribe if you want to make sure you catch the last 2 parts of our review of these Thing comic books. We got 2 more to record, one more tonight and another next time we gather.
Yes.
We are almost there, but this was a really fun series. I mean, as
honestly,
big of fans of the Thing as we are, tell me you're not happy to at least know these stories now. Have them in your head.
I actually had a lot of fun talking about it with you in these last 2, man. And now I'm going to go back and rewatch the prequel, which I hated.
We are going to be doing that.
I totally shat on that movie the first time I saw it in theaters, because I was expecting something different, but you know,
I'm legit excited to do that.
In mind, I'm really stoked, and
don't rewatch. We're going to do a commentary of it.
Oh, that's right.
For the Patreon.
That's right.
We had a Patreon request
that
for that
to look forward to. Thank you to the patrons, then, obviously.
Yeah, well, it's the same one that requested the Thing, the first one. It's like, let's get a whole series going. I was like, all right, let's do it.
More sober Fuego for this one.
Coming soon. So, all right, we're about to record part 4, and then we're going to take a little break before recording part 5. But thank you guys very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias up and Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.